Are you living with a cheating partner and you're wondering if they're ever going to change? Now, listen to this. No matter how much they cry, how much they roll on the floor, how much they promise you that they're not going to do that again, I'm sorry to break it to you because they're going to cheat again. You know why? Because cheating is like a coping mechanism to some people. And just like every addiction, they get to a point where something triggers them to go into that addiction. So until they realize what their triggers are, they will always fall into that addiction of cheating. So to them, when they've been pushed to the wall by those triggers, the only way to cope is cheating. So they need to identify what their triggers are. So the trigger could be the kind of friends that you keep real life. Whenever you guys hang out, what do you guys talk about? It's time for you to make new friends. The trigger could be the kind of food you eat. It's time for you to change your menu. The trigger could be the kind of people you follow on social media and what they post. It's time for you to start clearing what you need to clear. The trigger could be whenever you spend too much time alone. It's time for you to start thinking, okay, I think I need to start reducing my alone time. The trigger could be keeping secrets from your wife. It's time for you to start becoming very open-minded. The trigger could be having conflicts with your wife. It's time for you to start learning conflict resolution and effective communication. Identify what your triggers are. What are those things that if they happen, I always find myself seeking for this coping mechanism, which in turn is cheating? Until you find what those triggers are and learn positive and healthy coping mechanism, you find yourself going back to that cheating because that's the only way you know how to cope. Positive coping mechanism, healthy coping mechanism that can actually also help you could be taking a walk, could be speaking to your wife, could be learning positive communication skills and conflict resolution. It could be having a mentor that you can actually have access to, that you can call and say, hey, I'm struggling, pray for me. It could be, hey, I'm struggling, what do I do? Healthy coping mechanism could be drawing closer to God. When last did you even pray? When last did you read the Bible and speak to yourself about what God said you are, who God is to you? The Bible said the word of God is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. So when last did you strengthen the relationship you have with God? So these are positive coping and healthy coping mechanism that you can adapt. Throw away all the other mechanisms that are not helping you, that are putting you back into what you don't want to continue doing. I've had the conversation with some men and I'm just going to share this. Some men feel like they cheat more during these times. One, when their wives are on their period. Two, when the wife just put to bed. Three, when they're having conflict with their wife. And sisters, listen up and listen good. You see these three phases of your life, you do not have control over two of them. One, your period and having a baby. You do not have control over it. So a man that decides to cheat on you when you're on your period, it's not your problem. Because if your principle is that you can't go down when you're on your period, he should respect that. And if he decides to go out and do whatever he wants to do, is on him, it's not on you. He needs to heal. He needs to learn new coping mechanisms. He needs to learn what his trigger are. So if this period is his trigger, he needs to learn new coping mechanism to cope with it, not you. Secondly, you just had a baby. And if the man feel like, unfortunately, some of them will say, oh, my wife, I love her so much. She just had a baby. Her body has been through a lot and she have a new baby, so many responsibilities right now. And I also have emotional needs. I don't want to add it to what she's got, the responsibility that she's got. She's got so much on her plate. And they feel like outsourcing those emotional needs is the best thing to do. They do not know that the both of you sent that body on an errand and that body has delivered priceless results. It's also the responsibility of the both of you to bring that body back to shape, to heal that body. If the body is bleeding, you as a man, you're bleeding. If that body is in pain, you're in pain. So you can't tell me I have emotional need I want to outsource. Have you thought about if the woman also feel like she need to outsource some of those pain? Do you think that if she have opportunity to outsource some of those bleeding, some of those pain, she wouldn't do it? Those are emotional needs for her. Do you think if she have opportunity to outsource the breastfeeding, she wouldn't do it? Those are emotional needs for her. And you want to outsource yours, that's selfishness. So this is not time for selfish need. This is time to work together and heal the body that went on errand for the both of you. So if you are cheating and you feel like that is your trigger, then you need to look for positive coping mechanism, because it's not an excuse. Until you realize that you're partners and you need to draw closer to God and appreciate what God has done for you, then you stop all of these things. And the third one is when you're having conflict with your wife. And it surprises me sometimes that married people think that because you've lived under the same roof with your partner that you do not have anything to talk about. Yet you're always having conflict. You don't even understand each other. You don't know each other's struggle. Your conversation doesn't have to revolve around just the children and what food to eat. The both of you need to understand each other. The both of you need to talk. There is so much to talk about. You feel like, oh, we've been together 20 years, there's nothing more to talk about. Really? But you're having constant conflicts, misunderstandings. This is what to talk about. When you sit together, you talk about your struggles, talk about how to love one another better, talk about the things you guys are doing right for each other, talk about the things that are not so good that we need to work on and improve on. You have so much to talk about, so that the recurrent conflict doesn't equal to those triggers. Because if you can get your conflict resolution skills right and your communication skills right, you don't need to dive into that coping mechanism, which is cheating, because the triggers has been dealt with. So you have a lot of work to do as partners together. Speak to your husband, speak to your wife about your challenges, your struggles, these triggers, and work together to bring it to an end. Or even if it reoccurs again, you already know how to deal with it. It's not going to now push you to the wall to the extent that you start looking for all of these unhealthy coping mechanisms. I just hope this video help you to understand that unless you get what you understand what your triggers are, adapt positive, healthy coping mechanism, draw closer to God, you still find yourself cheating again. So if you do not want to cheat again, it doesn't end with saying I'm sorry or crying or rolling on the floor. No, it doesn't end there, because you go back to it. So put in the work and get the desired results. Thank you.